Welcome to Cruise News, your daily update on everything happening at sea. Visit cruisenews.io to see today's stories and sign up for email alerts. Today, this episode looks at how cruise vacations are changing, right from onboard gambling apps to busier home ports and, well, bucket list expedition ships.
Right. We've got a lot of interesting industry data to go through today. It really shows how the market is splitting in two very different directions.
Yeah, it's a stark contrast. On one hand, you have this massive scaling up for these giant floating cities, and on the other, a push toward really niche, ultra-remote itineraries.
Exactly. And, technology is really the bridge making both of these extremes possible. But let's start with the volume side of things, specifically looking at the port infrastructure.
Yeah, because before anyone can take a vacation, you have to actually get them onto the ship. Let's look at the latest figures out of Port Canaveral in Florida.
Right. Port Canaveral is really the benchmark right now for the mega ship boom. They are currently undergoing a $95 million expansion of Cruise Terminal 10.
Which is a huge project, and that's slated for completion by November 2027, right?
Correct. And they are expanding the physical footprint of that terminal by 30%, bringing it to 145,000 square feet.
Wow, 145,000 square feet. They are doing this specifically to handle ships carrying up to 6,700 passengers at a single time.
Yeah, vessels of that size, from Disney, MSC, Royal Caribbean. When you have 6,700 people all trying to check in, drop luggage, and board in just a few hours, the logistics are immense.
It really is. And Port Canaveral is officially the world's busiest cruise port now. The reports show 8.6 million passenger movements just in fiscal 2025.
Which is a 13% jump from the previous year. So to handle that, this Terminal 10 project is just one piece of a broader $1 billion capital improvement program.
Right. I saw they're also expanding Terminal 5.
Yeah, and they're building a new $93 million parking garage that will hold 3,700 cars.
See, that's exactly what I wanted to ask about because, from a local infrastructure standpoint, 8.6 million people moving through a single port town, how do the local roads handle that?
Well, traffic is a major concern. That's why they are spending so much on the infrastructure.
Because if you have 3,700 cars trying to park at a single terminal while thousands of people are crossing the street with luggage, it just seems like it would cause total gridlock.
It absolutely would. And that's why this project isn't just about the buildings. It's about separating the traffic. They're building two-lane vehicle ramps and elevated pedestrian bridges.
Okay, so keeping the cars and the pedestrians completely separated.
Exactly. They have to keep the throughput moving because ship departure times are non-negotiable. It's so critical that they are actually keeping Terminal 5 open and fully operational right through its construction phase.
Wow, just working around the passengers. But I have to wonder, how does the local community feel about this constant volume? It sounds like a perpetual construction zone.
Well, the reports point out that this volume is an economic lifeline for the area. It's the baseline for many local businesses.
Right, because all those people need places to eat and stay before they board.
Yeah, for example, the owner of Joanne's Beachside Cafe noted that cruisers make up a very necessary portion of their customer base.
And I noticed a stat from Paradise in your Palm Travel Agency in Merritt Island. The owner there said that cruise passengers account for 70% of her total business.
Right. So while the traffic and the construction are definitely a strain on the municipality, that massive centralized throughput is really what supports the local economy.
It makes sense. It's a trade-off. But this actually brings us to an interesting operational point. Once you process all 6,700 of those people and get them onto the ship, how do the cruise lines continue to, monetize them in international waters?
And that is where the strategy is shifting from physical venues to digital ones, specifically the devices passengers already have in their pockets.
Yeah, the data on onboard digital gaming is fascinating. Royal Caribbean is currently testing paid digital lottery scratch-offs directly on their onboard app.
Right, they're running this test right now for guests on the Utopia seas. And Carnival launched a similar program, Carnival Millions, back in February.
And these are digital scratchers ranging from $2 to $20, right? With the top jackpot of $100,000.
Exactly. And it's a very clever integration when you think about it. The cruise lines have basically trained guests to rely on their apps for everything,
Yeah, you use the app to do your safety briefing, book your dining, check the schedule.
Right. So now, while you were waiting for a table at dinner, you could just open the same app and buy a $5 digital scratch-off.
It's like having a casino right in your pocket. But how do the payouts actually work for this? I assume they aren't handing out cash through the phone.
Well, the logistics dictate the design. For smaller prizes, Basically, anything under $2,000, the winnings just post directly to your onboard guest count.
Oh, that's smart. So if you win $50, it just immediately covers your next round of drinks or a specialty dinner.
Right. The money stays right within their own ecosystem. But for larger payouts, like that $100,000 jackpot, there is a deliberate friction point.
Which is what?
If you win over $2,000, you are required to physically go down to the ship's Casino Royale to handle the tax paperwork in person.
Ah, okay. So it forces the big winners out of their cabins and right onto the physical casino floor.
Exactly. But, the tech behind making this work at sea is actually the most interesting part.
Yeah, because internet at sea has historically been pretty rough. I read that back in 2022, BetMGM tried to launch a mobile sports betting platform on Carnival, but it failed.
It did fail, largely because of satellite internet latency. If you're doing live sports betting, you need a constant, real-time data stream for live odds.
Right, because a 2-second delay ruins the whole model.
Exactly. Plus, passengers didn't really want to sit on their phones playing regular digital slots when a massive physical casino was right downstairs.
So why do digital scratchers work better on the network? Even with Starlink being installed on these ships, having 6,000 people on one shared connection has to be tough.
Because scratchers are asynchronous. They don't require that constant real-time data connection.
Oh, so the app just downloads the ticket data, verifies the math, and that's it.
Right. It doesn't strain the shared backhaul system the way live millisecond perfect betting would. It's an ideal low-bandwidth solution.
That makes total sense. But what about the regulations? Because digital gambling in international waters sounds like it could be completely unregulated.
You'd think so, but it's actually highly structured. The Cruise Lines International Association, or CLIA, has standards for member policies that model onboard gaming on established land-based frameworks.
So they aren't just making up the rules out there.
No, they base their regulations on places like Nevada, New Jersey, or England.
Okay.
So that means strict house rules, adult-only play, and mandatory external audits at least once every 12 months.
So the integrity of the game is essentially tied to Las Vegas or New Jersey standards, even though you are out in the middle of the ocean.
Exactly. It's heavily regulated to ensure compliance.
Well, that's the mainstream side of the industry, billion-dollar ports and digital casinos. But looking at the last report in our brief today, there is a totally different sector of the market moving in the complete opposite direction.
Right. The boutique polar expedition market. This is the ultimate scarcity model. Totally different from the mega ships.
Yeah, the report highlights the Heritage Discoverer. This is a ship that just finished a dry dock in Bremerhaven. And the stats on this are just wild compared to what we just talked about.
Yeah, it is incredibly small.
It was built in 1989, and it only has 72 cabins. So we go from terminals processing 6,700 people to an entire ship that holds maybe 140 passengers.
And its itineraries are just as exclusive. It's scheduled to debut in Antarctica in November 2026.
Sailing from Ushuaia down through the Falkland Islands, South Georgia, and the Antarctic Peninsula.
Right. And then after that season, it moves up to Europe and the Arctic in 2027 and 2028.
But the business transaction behind this ship is what really caught my eye. It was purchased at auction for a reported 4.5 million euros.
Yeah, and it wasn't bought by a major cruise conglomerate. It was actually a co-purchase by two smaller operators, Heritage Expeditions and Polar Latitudes.
Right. And there was a quote from the founder of Polar Latitudes, John McKeon, that I think really sums this up. He said, "You want to control your own destiny, and owning ships is step one."
That is the core reality of the expedition business right now.
Because I was wondering, if this market is so profitable, why are two companies pooling money to buy a nearly 40-year-old ship with only 72 cabins?
Well, it comes down to securing access. This isn't a volume business. It's a high-margin, ultra-niche market.
So it's not about having the newest, most luxurious mega ship. It's about having the physical asset to even participate.
Exactly. The environments they are going to, like Svalbard in the Arctic or the Antarctic Peninsula, are extremely fragile and strictly regulated.
Right, local governments and treaties cap how many people can be on shore at once.
Yeah, so there is a very small pool of ice-strengthened vessels that actually meet the environmental and regulatory requirements.
So if a company just charters a ship from a third-party owner, they are kind of at their mercy.
They are completely vulnerable. A third-party owner could raise the charter rate, sell the ship, or, mismanage the maintenance and fail in environmental inspection.
And if that happens, your entire bucket list season is ruined.
Right. And in this market, you can't afford that kind of volatility. So by co-purchasing the Heritage Discoverer at auction, Even at 4.5 million euros for a 1989 build, they secure their own operational capacity.
They bypass the third-party landlords entirely.
Exactly. They guarantee their ability to access these strictly regulated environments for the long term.
It's just a fascinating look at how bifurcated the industry has become. You have billion-dollar investments into Florida megaports and digital gaming apps to serve millions of people efficiently.
And at the exact same time, you have millions of euros being spent at auction just to secure a 72-cabin ship to take a few dozen people to the ends of the Earth.
It really is a study in extremes. And, looking at all this data, it leaves you with an interesting thought about where this is heading.
Oh.
Well, as the mainstream ships get larger and the internet at sea gets good enough to run mobile casinos, the whole experience is becoming hyper-connected.
It really is.
So you have to wonder, how long until we see cruise lines charging a massive premium for the exact opposite?
You mean like a digital detox?
Exactly. The ultimate modern luxury for these high-end clients might just be a fully dedicated tech-free sailing where the Wi-Fi is intentionally turned off.
I could definitely see that becoming the most exclusive ticket in the industry.
Something to keep an eye on for sure. Thanks for listening to Cruise News. Visit cruisenews.io to catch up on the latest updates and sign up for free email alerts.